Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to an episode of Canucks Conversation brought to you by Bet365. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. My name is Dave Woodrelli. I am joined by Harman Dial. Let's have her F top, Harm. We disagreed off air. I called this a fun win for Team Tank. You rightfully pointed out that it was a pretty boring game. Like, these were two bad teams. Kraken had their little winning streak going on, but relatively like middle of the pack / bad for the Kraken. Wasn't a great game, but the finish, I argued that the shootout made it a fun win for Team Tank. And it was also, of course, the important part is the standings, of course, and it's a 3-point game. Anytime you're playing one of those teams that you're going to be battling for the basement with, which the Canucks are with the Kraken, anytime it's a 3-point game, you're happy.
Yeah, I think you could argue the end was a little bit fun, especially because it's Liam Ogren that gets the shootout winner again. He's becoming a specialist in that situation. But to me, first of all, I'm not going to come on here after every win and be upset about it. Of course, the Canucks are going to win games through the remainder of the season. They're not going to lose 40 games in a row, and losing one to Seattle isn't the end of the world for Team Tank. But for me, what constitutes a fun win for Team Tank would be a game in which you're carried by the young players. It's aesthetically pleasing to watch.
Sure.
And to me, through regulation time, that was not it for the Vancouver Canucks. It was a game where I really believe that Kevin Lankin, and not just in a shootout, but in the game as a whole, maybe saying he stole it would be a little bit too far, but he was probably the biggest reason they won that game. I thought Seattle, outside of the second period, pretty decisively controlled that game.
I don't think it is crazy to say he stole it, especially in the third, Harm. Like, Lankinen was making phenomenal saves in the third. And again, the first period, Canucks were not ready to play in that game, which is just, it's always so weird to me when a team's just so clearly not ready to play off the hop. But that was the Canucks last night. And then it was so crazy because they had the pressure, right? They had all the pressure going their way. They flipped the switch. They get the big fight from Connor Garland. Linus Karlsson, best player of all time. We'll get to him in a second here. You get all that momentum, and then Seattle scores one against the run of play, and you're like, oh my gosh, here we go. Again, you're right. What you're describing is a fun win for Team Tank. I agree with you. What you're describing is that game they had against the Minnesota Wild, where there were no expectations. Aatu Ratu scores 2 goals, and they beat the Wild, who, by the way, won again last night. I called it Bet365 Bet of the Day at the end of yesterday's show. The Wild are just on another level. We'll get to them in anyone else. But all in all, a decent, can we say a kind of fun win for Team Tank?
There were fun. There are fun, some fun elements, right? Linus Karlsson scoring again. I love the Garland McCann fight. I want to talk about that in a bit as well. You get a vintage wrist shot goal by Elias Paterson. That's always nice to see. So I'm not saying it was an awful game to watch, but overall it was one. As a Team Tank supporter, I can live with a game like the Minnesota one where it's Aatu Ratu scores multiple goals, DPD, Tom Verlander. It's the young guys driving the bus. That's fine. But this felt like a game where, other than the goaltending, won them the 2 points. Is kind of my main takeaway from that one.
Okay, I went and rewatched. Let's talk about the Garland fight real quick. Jeff Paterson's going to join us in a moment here. We'll get to him. We'll bring him in a second. But I want to talk about this Garland fight, okay? Fights Jared McCann, and for those that missed it, Connor Garland kind of sticks out his elbow, it looked like on the broadcast, hits Jared McCann in the face. McCann was not happy about it, went undetected by the refs. And then the broadcast, phenomenal work by the crew, by the way, breaking it down, Ray Ferraro, John Shorthouse, and of course the cameramen to be all over that. Getting Jared McCann kind of chirping Connor Garland and telling him from the bench, like, I'm coming. And Garland obliging and taking on McCann. Again, two guys that don't fight a ton. Although I pointed this out on Twitter yesterday, Connor Garland's got 50% of the Canucks fights this year. There's 4 fights. Connor Garland has 2 of them. And also worth mentioning, one of the other ones, Sam Carrick versus Marcus Paterson, was in retaliation to a hit on Garland. It was the one that gave him the injury that kept him out for 3 games after that game against the Rangers. That was Marcus Paterson coming to Connor Garland's defense. So kind of, can I say he's been involved in 75%? Yeah. He's been a combatant in 50%, but I really like to see that from Garland. And again, like, seriously, it did give them a jolt. It did give them that jolt. And again, I know we're all talking Team Tank and everything, but it's still hockey. It's still great to see things like that.
What I love most about that fight is Garland ducking under punches. Right, there were 4 or 5, because I rewatched the fight 2 or 3 times, where McCann is just going in for a haymaker.
Yeah.
And he misses too high. I think the first one was like Garland didn't even duck. McCann just didn't adjust for the fact that Connor Garland is a short king.
Yeah.
And then the other one subsequently, you saw Garland perfect timing to dive under punches. I mean, what other player in the league could just duck under punches in a fight? That was so entertaining to watch. And then the takedown at the end, just flipping McCann over, where I think there was a split second where McCann thought, all right, the refs are coming in to break it up. He kind of let his guard down a little bit, got complacent, and then Garland just goes in for the takedown with authority at the end.
I had to rewatch this because I don't like takedowns in hockey fights. It's dangerous. I don't like hockey. I don't like, especially when a guy's not wearing a helmet. But I had to rewatch this because immediately I was like, okay, I don't like that. Like, why? I don't like takedowns. You remember? I think it was Zach McEwen, really dangerous double leg takedown on a guy. Really nice on the mats, not great on the ice. But with Garland, go rewatch it. I don't think it was a takedown. I think he jumped into an uppercut and literally I think he connected and then McCann fell. I think that's what happened.
Oh, wow, okay.
I don't think he grabbed his legs and lifted him up and drove him to the ground or anything like that. I think it was like, go rewatch the end of the fight, folks. Hockeyfights.com. You can go see it. I'm 90% sure. And Jacob, your next task is to bring that up. Just the end of the fight. I'm pretty sure he like jumps into an uppercut, which is also hilarious. But I'm pretty sure that's actually what made him made McCann fall over. So we'll save that for anyone else. See if the replay agrees with me. But that's what I took away from the fight. Anyways, let's bring in
also
Jeff.
To see the bench fired up, the smile on Kiefer Sherwood's face, just the glee.
Is that the biggest smile we've seen from a Canuck in the past 5 years?
It's got to be up there.
Jim Benning, when they drafted Quinn Hughes, that might be up there. Not 5 years, but that might be up there. All right, let's bring in Jeff. Jeff Paterson is brought to you by our friends over at Greta, a great spot for all games, home and away. Speaking of games, January 10th, we picked these opponents well, folks. January 10th is our next watch party. We're not wasting much time before getting right back to it. Our last one was so much fun. We're going to have another one. January 10th, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Vancouver Canucks. I'm a big fan of these 4 p.m. starts for our watch party. So it's another one. January 10th, 4 p.m. versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. Doors open at 3 p.m. Greta, come hang out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. 50 West Cordova Street is the address. You know the drill. You got a text for your reservation. I'll be getting you that number in a second here. But if you go to Greta Bar YVR, the number's available. You can just do it there. I don't have it written
game,
down.
By the way, that game, anytime you play the Leafs on a Saturday night with Toronto fighting for their playoff chances, Team Tank is ready to sacrifice that one. Win that one at all costs. Take Toronto down. I don't care how it happens.
Literally why I picked it.
It's got to be like
such a good game all the time.
I don't care if you're on Team Tank. That one is anytime you have an opportunity to take the Leafs down when they desperately need points, it's seize it.
How many great games, and the number 604-256-4022. How many great games over the years? And I want Jeff's opinion on this too when we bring him in a sec. But Harm, how many great games over the years, recent years, have the Leafs and the Canucks had? What comes to mind? Matt Martin jumps Troy Stetcher. Ryan Miller jumps in. Line brawl. Awesome. All right. Then even the Canadian division year where nothing memorable happened. Nothing good happened that year. Braden Holtby shuts the door on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Wearing those stupid reverse retros. There's been so many, well, not so many, but there's definitely been standout games over the years of these games where Toronto's the home team and the Canucks come in and, and they stomp them, even though they've been a worse team all of those years. Canucks always come to play against the Leafs. So that's what we're hoping for. 4 p.m. start, January 10th. Come hang out with us. 50 West Cordova Street is the address. And that number again, to reserve, text 604-256-4022. Just tell them you want a table for however many people you have at the Canucks Army watch party on January 10th. They'll know what you're talking about. All right. Oh yeah, and Hachiroku in the chat said good Branson yelling Matt Markin is effing dead. That led to warnings from the league. Jeff, any memories stand out other than that one maybe of Canucks versus Leafs?
You want to remind the people what else is happening at Greta on January 10th?
Oh yeah, there's also a rink-wide recording afterwards.
Yeah, thanks. Come for the watch party, stay for the rink-wide.
You really sold that one, Quads.
I know. I get used to it. We're still doing the verse thing as well. Like the Canucks verse the Leafs. There's a second syllable to the word versus, but we'll work on that for another day. For whatever reason, the Canucks are like 16-2 in their last 18 home games against Toronto. Everybody beaks about the 4 p.m. start, and the Canucks do nothing but win. Now, I know this is a game in Toronto. Leafs still have to come here later in January, so that'll apply then. But it's funny, you made the reference to the Braden Holtby and the Sprite can reverse retro. PJ and I, we saw a guy at the game on whatever day, Saturday, Sharks game.
Yep.
Lower bowl, wearing a reverse retro 49 Holtby jersey. And I was like, deep cut. Like I saw the 49, and at first I was like, 49, who wore 49? And then I saw the name of Holtby, of course. Like, yeah. So somebody went all in on the and didn't they didn't win a game in those reverse retros, didn't it? Wasn't that they went 0-4 in so never to be spoken of again. But yeah, I think it'll be fun. I mean, watch parties are fun. It'll just amp it up because of the opponent. And then hopefully people will come down and stick around. There's going to be playoff football that night as well. So it's going to be a busy night on all the screens at Greta. And yeah, we're taking the show on the road, doing rink wide afterwards. So should be a great night. Rink wide is value added. No extra cost. Don't need an additional ticket to stick around for the rink wide taping, or is it taping? Is that what we call it? I don't know. We're doing rink wide. Irf and I, we will be there front and center. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
Live. You got to say live from Greta. I'll work on something.
Right, but it lives as a podcast afterwards, so it is recorded as well. But you're right. It's a lot. We'll do it live.
Someone else pointing out in the chat that the Canucks shut out the Leafs last year as well. Leafs Canucks. I'm telling you, there's something special.
Remember, they got snowed in Raleigh and had to fly on game day and went, don't have a chance. They don't stand a chance. And then they go out and they beat them. They scored in the first minute. They scored. Dennis Hildeby was in goal. They stood a chance, all right. So I saw Columbus do the same thing yesterday in Ottawa, and I was like, you know what? Like, we make this out to be such a big deal of traveling on game day, and then Columbus went in and blew the doors off Ottawa. So precedent, but you're right. I had forgotten about that. Snowed in Raleigh, flew in, and then went and beat the Leafs.
J-Pat, let's start with Jake DeBrusk. He was the main story on Sunday. On Monday, him not being in the lineup as a healthy scratch against the Seattle Kraken. First of all, you were there when DeBrusk spoke to media. Wanted to get your take on what you heard from DeBrusk, how you think he's handling that situation, and ultimately what you make of Adam Foote's decision to sit him out.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with a healthy scratch for a guy that has struggled as mightily as he has. 1 goal in 16, and it was a power play goal. I basically say weekly, 1 5-on-5 goal, and here we are past Christmas now. I think it had been building to this. And Adam Foote had been dropping hints about veterans and slow starts and needing more. Jake DeBrusk couldn't say that it was an absolute shock, although I did ask him that. And, he said he was surprised, but he had put himself sort of in harm's way in that regard. And now the message has been sent. And if it happens to Brock Besser, I don't think Besser could sit there and, oh my goodness, I didn't see this one coming. You guys are paid not you guys, those guys are paid healthily to produce, and they're not. And so Canucks have healthy bodies for the first time. Adam Foote has options. And I think some message sending isn't necessarily a bad thing. So Jake handled like an absolute pro. I have a ton of respect for Jake DeBrusk. I think my respect level maybe went up. There were a lot of guys that, would have been the extras at practice and would have just taken the back door out of Rogers Arena. I'm not playing, I'm not talking kind of thing. And that's Jake DeBrusk, right? Like, in good and bad, this guy just likes to talk. He's a talker. And so maybe there was some form of therapy in it just to get some of the thoughts out of his mind and off his chest. But he owned it as well. Like, he knows. And when I asked him about the confounding 5-on-5 thing, like, he doesn't have an answer, but he knows that it's an issue. He said, like, I've been a 5-on-5 producer almost all my career. The one thing I thought was interesting was when he said, like, I usually get on a hot streak. I just don't think it's going to happen this year. I was like, they got half the season left, man. Like, don't go down that road just yet, because he did have a stretch. I think he scored 6 goals in 8 games at one point, and we all went, there's the streaky Jake DeBrusk. But that also just adds to the fact that, he's got 9 goals in the season, and 6 of them came in an 8-game run. Tells you there's been a lot of nights where things just haven't been happening for him. And I don't know what you guys would think, but like watching the games, like I wouldn't sit here and say it's an effort thing. I haven't ever left the rink thinking, he's dogging that, he's not trying. And he scores the greasy goals on the power play. And yet, for whatever reason, at 5-on-5, he just can't find the puck, get it around the net, and get a few to go. So it's been a surprise. Led the team in goals last year, and here he is. He's going to have to hustle in the second half of the season just to be a 20-goal scorer. And again, I believe in him, whether he knows or not, that he can have one of those streaks at some point. But I think this is Adam Foote basically saying, like, not getting nearly enough out of a lot of the veterans. And I would think Brock is probably next in line. I wonder if it carries over to the defense as well, though. And not that there's the urgency to get P.O. Joseph in the lineup, but you have him, he's healthy. Does Tyler Myers have to play every single night for the Vancouver Canucks? He's taken a ton of penalties lately. That's crept back into his game. We know that Marcus Paterson's had some defensive struggles. I'm not expecting that it's going to happen with the defense guys just yet, but once you do it to one vet, I think the door is open, and none of us should be surprised if they continue to flounder in 30th or 32nd spot. I think all bets are off from a coaching perspective as he tries to get his message through to this entire group.
On DeBrusk, I think it's interesting too, where not to excuse his lack of production at 5-on-5, because part of why he struggled is in his control. But one of the other factors I look at is just this Canucks forward group. How many forwards does this team have that are complementary or supporting scorers that are reliant on playmakers to get them the puck, and are more, I'm the guy that finishes off chances rather than actually being play drivers, right? You'd count Jake DeBrusk in that boat. You count Brock Besser in that boat. You'd count Evander Kane in that boat. Even Marco Rossi, who we're really excited about. Go back to, people often reference the 60 points he scored in Minnesota last year. He was always on a line with one of Kirill Kaprizov or Matt Boldy, where his job was just to play off of those guys, get to the front of the net. So that's 4 players that are all complementary, supporting top 6 pieces rather than actually being play drivers, guys that can create on their own. And I think that's part of the stylistic issue for this team. For tonight, I think no one's confirmed this, but we're expecting this to probably just be a 1-game reset and for DeBrusk to draw back in against Philly. Who do you think comes out now?
Well, I'll get to that in a sec, but just further to your point, like, doesn't this just completely underscore how weak they have been all season and still remain down the middle, right? Like, they've got wingers here that need centermen to get them the puck in scoring positions. And so that's why I think you have to cut Brock and DeBrusk and Garland a tiny little bit of slack, in as much as they've been stapled to David Kampf, and before that, Lucas Reichel, Nils Oman at one point when they had all the injuries. He played center for a game or two for the Canucks. Now they've got a 1-2 punch down the middle, legit. And so with Paterson and Rossi, you want to believe that some of that offense is going to come. But again, I just think it goes back to a flawed roster right from the outset. When Hedl left the lineup, there wasn't enough depth. And as a result, here they are, floundering at the bottom of the standings. And who comes out? Like, it could be as simple as DeBrusk goes back in and Brock Besser comes out, if you're going to sort of try to keep it fair and equitable. But something tells me it's going to be Nils Höglander. And I don't agree with that decision. Once Jim Rutherford put the word rebuild to his name in the press release, again, I think all decisions have to be made with an eye to the future. And I know you wrote about it, Harm. They got to figure out, like, is the 24-goal Höglander still in there somewhere, or is it the 8-goal guy from a year ago? He really hasn't done much in limited opportunities, but he hasn't played poorly either. And so if it's by default, he's the easy one, he only played 9 minutes last night in Seattle, let's get DeBrusk back in there, I don't like that. But I will say that it is a tougher decision than you might think for a team that's in 30th position, right? You'd think there'd be a ton of candidates to come out of the lineup, but the guys that normally would come out are the ones that are doing the bulk of the scoring with some regularity right now, whether it's Karlsson, whether it's Drew O'Connor, Liam Ogren. Hey, if the game goes to a shootout, you got to have Ogren in there. And, I guess there's a possibility too that, I think David Kamp's in a separate boat. And I'm not banging the drum to get him back in, but, is he now going to be a scratch in perpetuity here for the Canucks unless there were more injuries? So I don't know what they'll do. We'll find out this afternoon, but I do fear that it's going to be Nils Höglander, really through no fault of his own, but it just kind of feels like the easy decision to get Jake DeBrusk back in there.
Yeah, we had that conversation yesterday, and we kind of said it depends on what happens in that game. And like you pointed out, low ice time for Nils Höglander, so potentially him. Adam Foote's going to speak this afternoon, so we'll get confirmation later. It'll be up on CanucksArmy.com. Jeff, other than what we just talked about with DeBrusk, when you look at this team right now, and you're watching game to game, you're doing rink wide, like, what are you looking for right now? Again, we just talked about the rebuild. You talked about young guys. Like, what are you looking for specifically when you're watching games right now?
One thing that doesn't seem to be getting talked about an awful lot is the fact that in the last 4 games here, I know they're 2-2, both of the wins are in a shootout. They've given up 43 shots, 39 shots, 37 against San Jose is the low water mark, and then 39 again last night. They got outshot 16-3 in that third period. Like you were talking about Lankinen. He was the first star on rink wide. Wasn't a star in the building somehow, but he was the first star on rink wide. But what happened to this team that leading into Christmas for the better part of a month really had seemed to sort its stuff out and was, tightening it up. They were still losing hockey games, but a lot of the games they were losing were 3-2 or 2-1. But the last 4, like any of that structure and system completely out the window. And that's with the new guys settling in and seemingly starting to understand what the coaches want. And on top of that, getting Elias Paterson back. And yet defensively, they've been abysmal. And it's only been goaltending that has allowed them to stay in these games. And, Lankinen's delivered the 2 wins with a ton of shots against him. I thought Demko was really good in Philadelphia until the third period. And then the floodgates sort of opened on him. The San Jose game was the one game where they got what they deserved. They were clearly the second best team. And, against a team with the Macklin Celebrini, you give up that many chances, the other team is going to score a bunch. So I want to see if they can rein it back in again, because this is as healthy as they have been. You can't lean on the injuries at all anymore. And I'm just stylistically, I'm a little surprised at the way that they're playing. I'm watching the young guys continue to do their thing, and certainly the trio of young defensemen want to see development there from all 3 of those guys. And I have to say, as I have most of the season, and I know people may laugh, but I really am enjoying watching Filip Hronek play. And again, last night, a career high in ice time, almost 30 minutes for him, 5.5 of that on the penalty kill, played 3 minutes of overtime. And, in a season that has just been full of, black clouds and doom and gloom and everything else through it all, like just his level of consistency has been remarkable. At both ends of the ice. And so I've enjoyed watching Filip Hronek. I thought it was interesting at Sunday's practice when they finished up. I took a picture and posted it online. They have the end of practice circle, and there's Phil Hronek right in the middle of it all, sort of leading the end of the practice stretch, which may be a little thing, but again, I think it just speaks to the leadership, and he's got the A on his jersey now. So, we had this conversation on rink wide. I'll throw it to you guys as we near the midway mark. And in fact, I won't be on with you until they hit the midway mark on the weekend. At the end of the year, this team will give out an MVP award. Even if they finish 32nd, they're giving out an MVP. Now it's a fan vote, so maybe that's huge, but at the midway mark, like, how deep do you have to get before you get to Phil Hronek as the first half MVP?
Let's workshop this, fellas. Because this is great, Jeff. This is great. I hadn't thought of this.
I think it is Hronek.
I think it's Hronek. Hang on a sec. But Jeff made a good point. It's fan voting, Harm. At least Paterson's coming in number 1.
No, I don't.
I think Connor Garland. I think Garland and the fight may put him. And just quickly on the fight, because you talked about it and you did the hockey math. You realize he's the only forward that has fought for the Vancouver Canucks this season. Mancini and Paterson are the other 2 guys that have had fights. Connor Garland at 5'8" is the only, and he's had 2. He's the only Canuck that forward that's had a fight. But I think in a fan vote with the hustle and dropping the gloves and whatever, I think Connor Garland gets some votes. I think Thatcher Demko will get his share of votes as well if he stays healthy. But again, at the end, there isn't a mid-season award, so this is kind of your guess is as good as mine. Honestly, though, like how far would you have to go on the list to get to Drew O'Connor or Linus Karlsson? Like, and I'm legit when I say that, but that also just sort of spells out. No, it does. You can laugh, but you tell me that you like, could you get much farther than 5th on your list before either O'Connor or Karlsson is like?
Yeah, especially once Kiefer Sherwood's traded too, which we're assuming is going to happen.
Right. So Sherwood would get some votes as well. And in fact, I think if you were being honest, the first half MVP probably is Kiefer Sherwood, followed closely by Filip Hronek. But I think if it's a vote, then Demko's going to get some votes. Garland's going to get some votes. Some would say Quinn Hughes, but he doesn't play here anymore. So we'll exclude him from the conversation. After those guys, though, you are looking at that next wave that includes Karlsson, O'Connor. I mean, that's who the Canucks are. There are your 2025-26 Vancouver Canucks.
Aatu Ratu, one of only 2 players with a positive plus-minus this season. Hronek's the other one. They're both +3. Dylan McDonald put that in the chat.
Yeah.
Aatu Ratu, MVP.
Shifting away from the Canucks, we're going to hear what Team Canada's Olympic roster looks like tomorrow. I wanted your take. I feel like every analyst has their guy that is on the bubble that they really want to see make the team, or even on the flip side, a guy that's on the bubble that they really don't want to see on the team that you feel strongly about. What are your strong takes regarding some of these final decisions for Team Canada? Who's your guy, J-Pat?
Well, I'm pulling for Bo. I want to see him. He's had an incredible first half, even with the injury. I guess I always thought that his penalty killing limitations might leave him on the outside. But I saw TSN, Craig Button and Mike Johnson, their consensus team, and Horvat was the 4th line center there. So, fingers crossed for Bo Horvat. I think it would be really cool for him to get the opportunity there. I guess I was already on Team Celebrini making the list, and then I watched him on Saturday and was just blown away with the 17 shot attempts and shooting from everywhere and doing what he did, and then he did it again last night in Anaheim. So I think Macklin's on. I do wonder if the injury to Connor Bedard here is going to prevent him from making the grade. And then ultimately it's the goaltending. And is it going to be 3 completely different netminders than the group that represented Canada 10 months ago? Like, what a complete shift, even after winning the 4 Nations. And it kind of looks and feels like it's going to be 3 different goaltenders. So yeah, I'm going to be fascinated. I think there's going to be a couple of surprises, and obviously there will be snubs. Anytime you're talking about best of bests, there's that cutoff line, and somebody's going to fail to make the grade. And it's unfortunate for them, but it's not just lining up your 20 best players. You do have to have a couple of role players. You have to take special teams into account, and so we'll see where it goes. But I think Bo Horvat's the guy that I'm looking close to stat. Just the connection here, obviously, to Vancouver, but the season that he's had, I think he has done enough to put himself in that position, and, good on him. So let's see if Bo is one of the guys named to the team tomorrow morning.
I'm trying to see, someone in the chat said that we got some lineup info, but I don't think that's accurate yet. It's just a guess that Aatu Ratu would come out tonight. I don't want to see Aatu Ratu come out of this lineup. Jeff,
not for David Kampf. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Seriously,
exactly.
Like Ratu's got to play, and even in overtime, like you see, Petey was out there for that draw, and then nope, we're sending Ratu out, and he won the faceoff. His faceoff utility, he has become one of the best faceoff guys in the National Hockey League, bar none. And faceoffs are a great skill. It's not enough if that's all you do, but it's certainly a good start. And so, no, Adam Foote set to speak at 4:30. We don't know anything about the lineup and won't for a few hours still.
You know what? I just got to say, man, how many guys on this team over the years have we said, what exactly do you do here? What do you do? You don't have to ask that question for Aatu Ratu. It's go and win faceoffs. That's his role. He does it well. You hope he can develop the rest of his game. He can't do that from the press box. I'm getting fired up for something that hasn't happened yet, but I swear, you can't. I don't want to see this anymore. I don't want to see Ratu be a scratch. Okay, last thing for me, Jeff. Rick Tocchet makes his return to Vancouver. You heard him speak yesterday. Just your thoughts on that, and really just kind of putting a bow on it. How do you reflect on Rick Tocchet's time in Vancouver?
I think you'll get a positive reaction from the fan base. I think generally nobody's buying a ticket to see the opposing coach. So, fans are there to watch the game. The players are the stars and the coach is coach, and he'll get his acknowledgement from the organization. And I think he'll be reasonably warmly received. I don't think it's going to be a standing ovation type of thing, but when I look at him, I enjoyed my interactions with him. I think I always loved the fact that he was willing to teach us in the media as much as the players. And we'll always remember the day out at UBC when there were 4 or 5 of us in a hallway, and he started to physically position us in different ways to explain. I can't remember what the sequence was, but he had Ian McIntyre. Okay, you're over here, and grabbed me, and he put me over here, and it was hilarious. But he was trying to explain his teaching techniques and tactics, something I had never encountered, and I've worked through. I think I'm on the 8th head coach of the Vancouver Canucks in my time covering this team, and I just loved it. But he is a teacher at heart, and we saw that from that very first practice when he talked about boot camp and stopping and moving guys around. And he just took it to the hallway and with the media, and so that sticks with me. The big white fleecy thing that he wore once at the UBC, and then people kind of gave him the gears, and we never saw it again. And so I think he recognized that he may have liked it and it looked comfortable, but we never saw that thing again. So, I think his decision in the offseason now sort of underscores the point that he saw what was coming, that maybe he had some knowledge about Quinn Hughes and his desires. Whatever the case, it looks like he made the right call for himself, that his team is pushing for a playoff spot, and he's doing a nice job there. Because you look at that Flyers roster, and really after Zegras and Konechny, they work hard, but there's not a lot of star power. They've got some decent young players on defense. Dan Vladar has stepped up and gives them goaltending most nights. But, again, I think Rick Tocchet's pushing the right buttons, as he does generally in those first years when he takes over a hockey club. So he talked and talked and talked, because that's what he does, and that's what he loves to do. Yesterday, held court with the media, reflected on his time here, talked about the reaction of the crowd and how much he appreciated those playoff moments and the home ice advantage and the one playoff that he had. He talked about getting out around town and, never encountered anybody with a bad word. He's a people person. As I said, he loves to talk. And so it wouldn't surprise me if he stopped people on the streets, or if people stopped him, he'd engage in conversation there. But it's a business trip for him, right? And he's gone back and coached in old places in the past. So as he said, he'll have his business face on when the puck drops, and away they go. And the Flyers lost in Seattle the other night, so they're looking to bounce back. Canucks on the back end of a back-to-back. I think Philly sees this as an opportunity tonight, and Rick Tocchet certainly would love to leave Rogers Arena with the victory.
I'll never forget that high five down the tunnel. They get the win in the playoffs, and he comes and high fives the fan. And then afterwards, we asked him about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I shouldn't have done that." He was like a little embarrassed by it.
Well, I laughed because remember he went on Spinning Chicklets in the summer, and he talked about how there were 25 or 30 media people every day. And we were there, 25 to 30. That's an exaggeration. Yesterday, he claimed that there were 50,000 people on street corners on Scott Road after those playoff wins. 50,000 is a massive number. And I know he wasn't there, so I don't know who's feeding him the info, but I laughed, and I just thought, that's another Rick Tocchet exaggeration. I know they got excited out in Delta. 50,000 on Scott Road, not so much. So anyways, I had a laugh at that.
That's great. Jeff, thank you for doing this, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Phil Hronek for midseason MVP. Just remember where you heard it first.
Heard it first, folks. Jeff Paterson, ladies and gentlemen. Catch him on Rinkwide Vancouver, which will be live January 10th at Greta. There he is, Jeff Paterson. That was what, Mount Rushmore of JPAT hits. That was one of my favorite ones. That was just fun. That was a lot of fun.
That was a ton of fun.
Yeah, it was a good one.
So let's transition now to something else that's pretty fun. The stat of the day, which is a presentation of Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats, paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Hashtag crave the stats. Wanted to point out a quiet trend that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, a positive one. Max Sasson, we've given him praise at times, maybe not even enough praise for some of the goal scoring that he's chipped in the bottom six using his speed counterattacking. But from a two-way perspective, it feels like he is maybe starting to turn a corner where over the last 15 games, the Canucks have actually controlled 56% of shot attempts during Sasson's shifts. And it's not just the shot attempts, they're out shooting opponents, they're out chancing opponents. And that's a massive difference compared to, let's say, the first quarter of the season when Sasson's two-way numbers, especially from a defensive standpoint, were pretty shoddy. So right now, his 5-on-5 shot attempt share the last 15 games, he's got the second best number among Canucks forwards, and it's a really significant improvement compared to the first quarter. Now, 15 games, it's not the biggest sample size, but it is a trend that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, because for him to be part of this team's future as an everyday forward, yeah, you love the against the grain scoring ability, the speed that he brings to the table, but you also wanted to see him at his size prove that he could defend well at an NHL level and hold his head up from just a play driving perspective. And that's where he's clearly making some strides lately.
Good stuff. You know, it's funny because at the start of the season, we talked about waiver exemption with Max Sasson. Now we're talking about David Kampf. Like, Philip Hedl is probably coming back within the next month. Like, Max Sasson's not a guy you're looking at and saying, oh yeah, you send him down because he's waiver exempt.
Absolutely not. He deserves to be in this lineup. He is improving. I remember early in the season, there were moments where, for example, defenseman pinching up the right wall and Sasson's a little bit slow as the F3 to backtrack, and it leads to an odd man rush against. Those are the kind of mistakes that haven't been happening as frequently. And that matters because Ratu, as much as we want to see him in the lineup every night, and as much as I think Ratu's ceiling is higher than Sasson's because he's a bigger player and because he's a better face-off guy, the Sasson being steadier and not making as many mistakes in his own end lately as like compared to Ratu is part of the reason why Sasson hasn't been in the press box and has been able to continue playing the center ice position, whereas Ratu has been the one yo-yoing in and out of the press box.
We'll never get to talk to him again as long as he's in the NHL, but shout out to Max Sasson, friend of the show.
I've talked to him once this season.
No, I mean on this show.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to anyone else, which is a presentation of our friends at Pacific Toyota Dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. It's a no-compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. Drive up to 72 kilometers on battery alone, enough to get you from downtown to the rink, the grocery store, and home to recharge. Seamlessly transition from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. There's no sacrifices when it comes to horsepower style with its sleek, low, and wide exterior and sophisticated interior. It's loaded with tech that's actually easy to use. You can plug in to recharge at home or at one of the over 2,000 public charge stations in BC alone. And now you can lease a 2026 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from $109 weekly at 3.99% APR for 64 months with $3,300 down. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. All right, got a few questions. Harm, we've had questions about this over the past little bit. We need to address it. This plant behind you, it's clearly an orchid. Do you water it?
Well, okay, so we started with an orchid.
Yes or no question, buddy?
Well, no. Well, hear me out. The orchids, like the blooming flowers, were starting to wilt, even though I was regularly watering them because they have a shelf life. That's you can look that up. They aren't supposed to last forever.
I believe you.
This plant though is a different one, but this one has been. I think because this room is cold and doesn't get a lot of sunlight. I've still been giving it water, but yeah, like the blinds are never open in this room, so I think the lack of sunlight is doing it in a little bit. Yeah, I got to do something about this plant.
Oh, dude, my snake plants. I got snake plants in my yard, and they're just completely dying. And I was googling it. They don't survive well in the winter. They do great in the summer, but I don't know if they're going to survive the winter. We'll see. People are saying, like, it said, like, bring them inside. They're big plants. Like, I have big snake plants outside. I ain't bringing these things inside. That's not a solution.
And even compared to yesterday's show, 2 of the leaves just on their own fell off.
Okay, so that's why people are pointing out in the chat. There's most of the comments in our chat right now are about your plant.
There's some good ones too. Yeah.
Yeah, the plant is on an expiring contract. The plant needs to go on IR. The plant only gets watered when the Canucks win at home. Rumor has it Harm named the plant Nils Amon. Oh my god. The plant represents the Canucks season well. Wow, there's a lot of good comments here. This is good.
Need to rebuild this plant.
Yeah, you gotta retool with a hybrid form. That's what you've been doing, actually, by just watering it over and over.
I'm chasing too many shortcuts, not doing the rebuild the proper way, and now the results are clear.
The leaves are just falling off on the road. I don't know how it happened. Okay. All right. Let's get to a couple things from around the league. I wanted to... Where'd it go? Yes. Okay. Yesterday, Braden Coots scores a goal for Canada. Bjork as well debuted for Sweden. Love to see that. My brother actually texted me. He was like, "Oh, are these Bjork guys brothers?" And I was like, "Yes." And you're not going to believe it, but the less talented one is a Canucks prospect. And he got very fired up about that. Canucks are really cornering the market on less talented brothers. Hey, like you got Aiden Celebrini.
Yeah.
Just in case. Hey, they know very well brothers like to play with each other. If Aiden Celebrini and Macklin Celebrini ever want to play together, boom, they got Aiden Celebrini. So
easy.
They load up. They load up. Easy. It's all part of the plan. But yeah, Braden Coots scores against Denmark. Canada wins. Hat-trick for Gavin McKenna in that game. There was some doubters in the chat. I know it was Denmark, but the way he scored some of those goals, especially the one where he just absolutely dangled everybody and then just tucks it in so calmly, that is that you can't really coach that. You can't teach that. That's the kind of thing that you love to see from a prospect that's going to be either a number 1 pick or a top 3 pick in this year's draft.
Yeah, and for Coots as well, what a nasty release on the goal he had. I understand against Denmark, you get extra time and space to pick your spot, whereas against some of these other opponents, you're not going to have as much time and space to load up. There's a much greater chance that shot is going to be contested. But you still got to pick that corner. And Coots, that kind of release is what makes you excited about his offensive potential, because he's a smart player, but he isn't the most gifted or creative East-West playmaker. So for him, the standout trait is going to be that shot, that finishing ability from all different parts of the ice. And then, yeah, on McKenna, not just against Denmark, but this entire tournament, he's been a game breaker. He had 4 assists through his first 2 games. He's a magician with the puck. He can do things that nobody else on the ice can even dream up in their head. He's the kind of player that can create something out of nothing, and that's such a valuable, rare skill set in today's NHL, where most teams, especially in zone, once they're set up in their structure, they defend well, and you often need that game breaker to just be able to create that slot opportunity out of thin air.
Yeah, break them apart. Vasil Sansonens, Big Hog Hockey pointed out too. Sansonens sniped today and an assist. Wow, good for him. I didn't watch the. They played Germany today?
Yeah, I think the assist was today. His goal was yesterday, and actually I saw it. It was nice. He just had a really nice shot from the blue line, got through traffic, beat the goalie clean.
Sansonens scored yesterday? No, that was 2 days ago.
Or 2 days, yeah, in their last game before today.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, Dave Hall's disappointing me if Sansonens scored yesterday and we didn't lead with that at Canucks Army. Yeah, Latvia playing Denmark today. And Switzerland beat Germany 4-0. Okay. Yeah, and he assisted on the goal today. Nice. All right. I wanted to ask you, this Rawlings thing behind you on your set as well. What's that?
It's my dad's old pair of hockey gloves.
Rawlings made hockey gloves?
Apparently.
Yes, they did.
What?
I had my Bauer ones in the background of the set for a while, and then I found, I always had these Rawlings ones kicking around, and I thought it'd be cooler because they're retro and a little bit more rare.
Yeah, those are sick. I did not know Rawlings made gloves. That's amazing. I did not know that. Wow. Also, people are asking about Family Feud. No Family Feud this week. We've talked about it for a bit. No Family Feud survey either because they could just trade someone, right? And we don't want our data to be old. So we're thinking Friday, maybe Monday show because people are really responsive with the survey. So we'll probably wait. We'll probably wait a bit before putting out the survey, but it'll be out at some point. No show Thursday as well, we should say, for New Year's Day. Miss L said, Harm, you should just get Lego plants. They don't die.
Yeah, I'm going to try and find a solution today. Let's put it that way. It'd be easier to have something that I don't have to actively take care of and manage.
Yeah.
Arm's going to show up tomorrow with a massive cactus back there.
Not a bad idea, man.
Doesn't need any water.
Yeah, not a bad idea. I'm not an indoor plant guy. Never have been. Although I've seen it look really nice in some people's homes. I don't think I'm an indoor plant guy. Never have been.
I already just kind of had this lying around, so I thought, why not? But again, I think in other rooms of the house, it might have had a better chance of surviving because of sunlight and the temperature. This is a really cold room. I'm always wearing a jumper or a jacket in this room.
Yeah. Doing a new thing in the chat said they're a glove company, talking about Rawlings, because I was all surprised. They're a baseball glove company. If you ask me, I did not know they made hockey gloves. They don't call it the Rawling Gold Glove Award for the best playmaker in the NHL.
I mean,
anyway.
back in the day, hockey gloves were made out of the same materials baseball gloves were, right? I guess it was an easy transition. It's still leather.
It is still leather.
And now it's all synthetic materials, and Rawlings just sticks to baseball.
And they all cost way too much money. Anyway. Anything else from either of you? Might have a short show today. Another game day. Might have a short one today.
I have the end of that Garland fight that you asked for.
Oh yeah, pull it up. And for those in the podcast, hockeyfights.com.
Little anger, little frustration. They'll tie up and gets one more shot in before.
Yes. Okay. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
He catches. Yeah, that's a good angle, Jacob. Play that again.
Sportsnet didn't have that angle.
No, they didn't. Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. It was an uppercut.
Wow, that's even more impressive.
Yeah. Good for Garland. Because at first, I really don't like takedowns in hockey fights. It's silly.
That's why I went with the Kraken broadcast angle, because you can very, very clearly see it was a punch. It was not a takedown.
Also, someone in the chat called me soft for saying that I don't like takedowns in hockey. Come on, that's crazy. That's not soft. You don't want to see guys' heads smash on the ice. It's dangerous, man. Let them punch each other. That's that's fair. That's within the the spirit of the fight. I don't like that. Don't take a guy down on ice. That's wild. With no helmet on. Come on. Yeah, that uppercut. You jump into an uppercut. The old Superman uppercut, as Dylan McDonald in our chat said it. I love that. All right. Anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. The Wild won yesterday. I'm officially on a heater. As are the Wild. They won 5-2, I think. Yeah, 5-2. 5-2. They beat the Vegas Golden Knights. Let's see. We're looking for home underdogs again. Pittsburgh's a home underdog. The Leafs are a home underdog against the Devils. Harm? Canucks are a home underdog. This is interesting.
Up to you, man. What are your vibes saying?
We're
Squad's
staying
about
with
to parlay every home underdog in the NHL today.
No. I'm not doing that. I am gonna go. Yeah. No. Yeah. All right. That's it. That's the one. I'm going with the Leafs, baby. The biggest home underdog on the NHL slate tonight, other than the Blackhawks. The Leafs plus 115 odds. Leafs money line against the New Jersey Devils. We're taking that. We're hammering that. You can get that bet over at Bet365, whatever your bet is. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get it on the game. Use the code NATION at Bet365. Must be 19 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. We'll be back tomorrow, folks. New Year's Eve tomorrow. We'll be back to break down tonight's game. Canucks, Flyers. Rinkwide Vancouver after the game, CanucksArmy.com. We'll be back tomorrow to break it all down, but we will close it out there. Oh, the Canada roster. Yeah, that comes out tomorrow. So we'll talk about that as well. But for now, signing off for my co-host, Harmon Dial, and our technical producer, Jacob Lazar. My name is Dave Wajali. Thanks so much for the episode of Canucks Conversation.
Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.